then you're in the know. Timberwolves, yeah, in the soul, lifting all the positivity for the wolves to grow. So, where we going from here, man? We listen week to week to get the clearest to clear. Recaps, got that. Soundcap, got that. Team ads, got that. So tell me what they do not have, huh? Foolish question to ask, but I don't mean to go brag. But boy, they got all the stats, and they could go all the way back from KG to Zerbiak. And all I'm saying is that the cast a one-stop shot for my Timberwolves. Timberwolves, ain't a thing falling, everything's coming up. Timberwolves, Timberwolves, falling from the autumn, ain't nobody gonna stop him. It's the Timberwolves, Timberwolves. Phonies, you can spot them, they the sheep under their clothes. Timberwolves, Timberwolves. Talk a lot about them, y'all don't really know. Let's go.
Welcome in to another Everything's Coming Up Timberwolves podcast. My name is Gabe Anderson, and I'm joined, as always, by Chris Emerson. Chris, how we doing?
I'm doing all right. Rolling about 500.
that's a good way to be. Or is it? We'll talk about it. Jared, and also joined by Jared Good. Jared, how we doing?
I've been better. As a Wolves fan, I've been better. We'll get into it in a second, but man, we had a real shot to be where I wanted to be, but we're one game short.
Well, I do remember you last week saying you expected to be 3-3. I don't think that you thought it would be in this capacity, like the way we would become 3-3 would transparent. So let's go over the week in general. So we start off win over the Bucks, huge win. Now, obviously, the Bucks aren't playing as good as some thought they would so far this year. Then we go and have a really good effort against the Nuggets. Malik Beasley was flame throwing, but we fall short in that one, a missed reverse layup at the buzzer, and then we have three pretty good, decent quarters against a bad Orlando Magic team, and then it all unravels. And just a terrible fourth quarter. So, Chris, let's start with you. Your impressions from the week that was.
It's a lot of fool's gold. The Bucks. Everyone was fired up because we beat the Bucks. But if our biggest problem is size right now and rebounding, in my opinion, and then the Bucks are starting a 6'6" center. And Pat Connaughton, they list him at center. And then they got, George Hill, who's a journeyman, he's not that good. And Grayson Allen, what are we talking about? That's not even that good of a squad that we beat. Yes, they got the freak and he went for 40, but, Middleton can play, but that's not like a championship squad. Let's not pretend like it was. So I'm glad we got that win. Denver, I think, was by far the best game. We played really good defense, and Beasley started to look a little bit like the Beasley from before, and that's huge for us. Huge for the Timberwolves. We lost, but that's because nobody could shoot.
Mm-hmm.
All of our stars. Well, Cat played fine, but we'll get in. I'll talk about that later. But D'Lo and Edwards just were super inefficient, and you have two of your three guys playing, shooting poorly. That's not going to help. And then the Magic game, man, was it was frustrating because we played all right, we played okay, but I think I was at going into the fourth quarter, they had 20 more free throw makes than us. We still couldn't shoot. I think we saw we were 1 of 25 from the corner three. We're just miserable. So, we'll get it figured out, but definitely some fool's goal followed by, in both ways. I don't think we're as bad as we look sometimes. I don't think we're as good as we look sometimes. So it's a long season.
Yeah, well, I actually, so far this season, I don't know what's going on, but I have had the opportunity to go to 3 Wolves games. We just get the 3 in there. There we go. Unfortunately, it has been every single game that we've lost. Yeah. So I have
I know
not
exactly
left.
What's going on.
I have not left Target Center with a win so far. I mean, I'm happy to be able to go to all these Wolves games by the way it worked out, but man, I will agree with you, Chris. I would say the Denver game, particularly from someone who was at the game, that was definitely the most fun. Like that was. I mean, it was Towns going at Jokic. It was Malik Beasley flame thrown out there. We just didn't have enough at the end. But Jared, what did you think of the week?
You know, it's kind of tough because I think when D'Lo is hitting shots, we can beat any team in the entire league, and when he's not, we can lose to the worst team in the entire league. And I think that's kind of what we saw this week was this team kind of goes as D'Lo goes. Not just like D'Lo specifically, but when he makes shots, our team is so much better and we are so much more efficient on offense. And when he doesn't make shots, it sounds kind of cliche of like, oh, well, when the ball's going in, you look better. But when it's not, it's not. But when you get a streaky player like D'Lo, that means a lot towards this team. I know that we're going to talk about this later on in the podcast, but in that Denver game, our big three combined for 52 points. We're not going to beat anybody when our big three combines for 52 points. I think that was correct if my math was correct. But yeah, you know, like we need 60 to 70 from our big three, or we're going to lose a lot of games. And I'll save some stuff for the week looking forward, but I have some concerns moving forward, and it has a lot to do with the healthiness of D'Lo. But I said this in our preseason preview. He's the X factor. If he's not making shots, we're gonna struggle, and it's hard to put so much expectation on one single player, but he is the key piece of this team. Like, yeah, you have Ant and Cat who can get 20 pretty easily, but you have D'Lo who can get you 25 or he can get you like 6. Like, that's a big difference on this team right now.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. And man, just I don't know. It's not only that he's missing shots, he's having bad turnovers too. Like he's just making some dumb, boneheaded plays. And I don't know. One thing that I wanted to bring up before we go forward, I saw the Timberwolves kind of doing this on, let's see, what night was that? I believe it was Saturday against Denver. And I noted this to my friend who I was at the game with. They had Patrick Beverley and D'Lo on the court together, and they had D'Lo kind of playing the 2 a little bit, kind of off ball, and Patrick Beverley handling the ball. Now, they didn't do this against Orlando, mainly, I think, because J-Mac was stretched so far anyway, particularly in the second half. But what do you think of D'Lo playing the 2? What do you think, Chris?
Like we talked about, or like I talked about, I don't remember when, a couple times ago. That's what he did in college. You know,
Right.
He was with a veteran point guard there, like a fifth-year senior kind of guy. And D'Lo, played off the ball, coming off picks, getting the ball and still being a creator for other people and then getting his shot. I mean, that was the whole idea behind Rubio and him. Like the idea was to play them 2 together, and it just didn't work. I'm not sure why or who that's on. I mean, obviously, Rubio has worked with Booker and Rubio's worked with Mitchell, and both of those worked, but for some reason it didn't vibe right. Rubio also was like fat and lazy looking in the beginning of the season last year, so he wasn't really, vibing great either. But D'Lo needs something. I would try anything right now to give him a spark. So yeah, put him at the 2 guard. When it comes down to it, I don't know if he's forcing it because it's his contract here. And he's trying to get that big contract, that big, another big 4-year max contract, 5-year max contract kind of deal. But we're not going to have to worry about paying him that if he keeps playing like this. I mean, right now he's, averaging 4 assists and 3 turnovers a game. Like that's horrible. And he's shooting, what is he shooting from 3? He's got to be terrible. He's shooting 28% from 3. Like that's not on 7.5 attempts. Like he's shooting 7.5 times and shooting 28%. Like it's one of those things where you just assume this is going to turn around, but it needs to soon because the losses are piling up. And if we're going to be 10, 9, 8 seed, 1, 2 losses can be the difference between 10 and 8
Yeah,
or
exactly.
or 11 and 10.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's a huge point right there. We can't afford too many more. Like back in, like, let's say last season, like you get so much in a rut, you get some bad losses, whatever. We're not going
Don't
anywhere.
matter.
Like, yeah, now you can't really afford too many more of these bad losses. And honestly, so far, I would count the Pelicans game 2 as a bad loss. I would count the Orlando game as a bad loss. Denver, that's not really a bad loss. No, yes, they didn't have Jamal Murray, but I mean, it's Denver. You still got a former MVP out there.
They're not playing well, though. Denver's not playing very good. So, I mean, we should have beat them, too. We held them to, what, like 92 or 93 points
93.
That's not like us. That's not like us to score 91, you know, like that's not us.
No.
And then we dropped 97 against Orlando, which we'll get into a little bit later about why that happened. But, you know, like you guys are saying, like this team could very easily be 5-1. Now, in that Magic game, you know, granted, D'Lo goes down and then we pretty much just mail it in and get beat. I mean, let's not take away credit from Orlando. They made some shots in that game and they shot the ball well and they deserve to win that game. But that's a team that you're like, when you're saying, you know, looking at the end of the season, when you're looking at like where we stand in the standings, you're like, okay, are we 7? We 8? Are we 6? You know, like those games, those 2 games or 2 or 3 basically that we're talking about can go a long ways towards the end of the year. Right now, you think, oh, 3-3, you know, whatever. We're the 7th seed in the West right now. That ain't that big of a deal. But boy, looking down the line, you're gonna like we're gonna be talking about those 2-3 games maybe towards the end of the year when we're talking about playoff seedings, and that can go a long way.
I mean, you have to look no further than the last time we were in the playoffs, right? We were 1 game away from not making it, right? I mean, basically, if we have a letdown game like that in the Jimmy Butler years, like we have a letdown game, game 82 never happens against Denver. Like that never happens. So also, so let's talk kind of about the Orlando game because it's the most recent game. Something that I saw Orlando doing particularly, they went into a zone. They went into kind of the zone defense, and the Timberwolves, we really couldn't shoot out of it. Or we would maybe find a cutter or so, but the cutter didn't know what to do with the ball. I think credit to Orlando and really what they did to get us out of our groove and out of our system, because that really frustrated us. What'd you see, Chris? Go ahead.
I mean, I saw that exact same thing, but I mean, a lot of it was the fact that we just weren't. We just weren't shooting. Like we were. I mean, not taking the shots, but I'm saying not hitting the shots. And I think, God, I saw somewhere, and I want to say it was for that game alone, but it might have been for the season. But we were 1 of 25, like I said, from the right corner 3. That's the kind of spot that most teams are shooting 45% on the year, 50% on the. I mean, that's a layup right now in the NBA. And I mean, last game we shot, or versus them, we shot 27% from 3. We shot 51 3-pointers and shot 27%. But what killed us is they had 30 free throws and we had 19. I think we got some of those at the end, and we shot 50%, 57% on our free throws. Like Cat missed 4 in a row. He came into the game shooting 98%. Like Anthony Edwards had something. He said, you know, we're letting our defense or we're letting the fact we're playing bad on offense affect our defense. He said, you know, we're not hitting shots, so it's kind of like F it on defense. He said that's kind of what it felt like. And last week I've said we were kind of acting like we were someone special, a team that was someone special after beating, you know, nobodies. And in reality, we haven't played a team worth a damn yet. Like we played the defending champs with 3 starters out. And like I said, Denver's looking terrible right now. So nobody we've played has been playing good. So even our wins are kind of suspect. So we got to get it figured out. And the one thing I gotta say that I'm excited for is our defense. Is it's still looking fairly solid, but again, we haven't played anybody. Talk to me when Golden State comes to town or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. Golden State, Utah's playing great. Even, and I know we don't see them until a little bit, but look at what Chicago's doing right now. Like, Chicago's unbelievable. That comeback, I'm actually watching it on the other monitor right now, the replay back. But that comeback against Chicago, or sorry, against the Celtics. First of all, I'm glad we're not a Celtics podcast right now, because then we'd have our own set of issues.
I'll tell you
But
what, though, they just lost their starting power forward too, the Bulls. So they're down to, I mean, their big men look just like us. They got one solid center and almost nobody else. So
that's a good point.
they're going to be struggling too.
And
go ahead.
The thing about the Bulls is we kind of talked about this last season at the trade deadline. One of my favorite moves was them adding Nikola Vucevic, because I think he's a very gifted center. And I think a lot of people thought that move I thought it was kind of a big deal when it happened, but I've been a big Vooch homer kind of ever since he's been in the league. And I think that move kind of went under the radar, because it added, not only did it add the Bulls to be a pretty significant jump up in talent, but it also made them a free agency destination. And they were able to land a guy like a couple guys, actually. They brought in Lonzo, and then they brought in DeMar DeRozan. I mean, they're no joke. The Bulls are talented, you know?
Yeah, they are. They are. So going back to the zone defense thing, we had a question from Chris Armstead. Is the Orlando zone defense, you spelled defense wrong, but that's okay, a blueprint on how to stop us offensively? What do you think? Do you think that the Wolves will be able to?
They were switching off on that. I think they were going man when they missed, and they were going zone when they made shots or something like that. So they're switching back and forth. A lot of, I don't think the zone defense is slowing us down offensively. I think we are slowing us down. I think we're just playing really bad offensively. What was interesting with Orlando, in my opinion, was that they scored 115 on us when we've been playing pretty damn good D. A lot of it was from the line, but they found a way to, with Cat coming up to meet that screener, they found a way to kind of get in that middle gap zone and attack us. And if that's something that wasn't a fluke, that's more worrisome to me. If people have figured out how to attack our defense that we're doing right now, opposed to our offense. Our offense, I think, will come.
Right. Yeah, I would agree with you. I think we're too talented not to have the at least offensively, have that come around eventually. But I gotta ask you guys: now he's done it to us twice now? Is Cole Anthony a little bit of a Wolves killer now? Because I don't know, because he hit that game winner last year, right? I remember I actually did a video on this very channel about it. And he was hitting all the shots last night. He might
just be a killer, period.
Yeah, that's a good point.
He's put up like 25 the last 6 games or something like that.
He's been pretty good diamond in the rough for a bad team. I don't know if Chris is paying attention in our fantasy basketball league, but I picked him up right away.
I did see that, but I didn't need guards, but I probably should have grabbed them anyways.
And also, I got mentioned just the exclamation point on the night last night, because we're recording this on a Tuesday. If you're listening back later, that dunk by Wagner. Oh, that was Sports Center top 10. I think I watched Sports Center this morning right before work. Absolutely number one. Yeah, it was number one on top 10. What a dunk. Like magic. Like our logo, for example, is of Anthony Edwards posterizing that guy from Toronto. If there's a Magic podcast, they might want to use that for their image. But man, what a dunk by Wagner, and what a performance by Wagner as well. I mean, 28 points, I believe, or he had 28 when I left. We didn't make it the whole way, but
he ended with 28. I do want to address this before we move to the next subject. We're talking about zone defense against the Wolves.
Yeah, go ahead.
Any coach who's ever coached, or pretty much who's ever watched basketball knows that when you play a zone, you're basically forcing a team to shoot from outside. Well, the Wolves want to shoot from outside, so I don't think that's a blueprint for how to stop us. But when we're shooting the way that we are, I mean, teams are going to throw it at us until we start making shots. I mean, even Ant's not shooting all that great. D'Lo's been shooting poorly. Cat's been Cat, but like even looking towards our bench guys, and I know we're going to talk about this a little bit later on, but if you're going to play a zone with McLaughlin at the point guard, I think that's a great strategy against the Wolves because he really cuts into what we can do offensively. So you might see a little bit more zone coming up against the Wolves. Is it a blueprint to stop us? I would say no, but maybe for the next week because I don't know how bad D'Lo's injury is going to wind up being. But for as long as we got McLaughlin at point guard, I think it's a great idea to be playing zone against the Wolves personally if I'm an opposing team.
Yeah. And it's an interesting point because it's almost like last night, the second half almost is an anomaly, like because you really only have one point guard on the roster going for you. Like you only have one guy playing point guard, and it happens to be your third string guy. Now I know, like if you're a Golden Gopher fan, with running back wise, it's next man up. But I don't know. It was an interesting case study last night. Jared, you had something?
Yeah, so we talked about this in the preseason preview, and I kind of like to go back to that episode just because it was kind of fun. We were kind of making predictions and stuff that we thought might happen this season with the Wolves, and I know that I remember us talking about Ant bringing the ball up more, or even being like that one at some points. Like when you want to mix it up a little bit. And I noticed that I saw that a little bit more in the Magic game. They would get it off to Ant, on the wing, and then they would. Let them dribble it out up top and then kind of run their screen and roll from the wing, basically. And I think we're going to see a little bit more of that with McDaniels. I'm presuming McDaniels probably starts McLaughlin probably starts the next couple of games at the point guard position. So I would look to see us do that a little bit more. And it's something that the fans have talked about now for probably almost a full year is getting the ball in Ant's hands off the dribble more and running those PNRs. I think we're going to see a little bit more of that. And this is nothing against McLaughlin. I think he's a serviceable backup. I don't think he's a guy you want to start at your point guard position, which is going to suck for the next couple games. It's going to be bad. It's going to hurt the Wolves a lot, I think. And one thing that also sucks about this is Beverly is also hurt. So we're thin. We're thin at the point guard position. So moving forward, look for the ball to be in Ant's hands a little bit more. And I pray he starts hitting a couple more shots because we're going to need every bit of it.
Well, talking about the point guard position, I know a guy who's in Iowa right now who played for Champlin Park and is a member of the Iowa Wolves right now. Bring up McKinley, give him a shot. Give McKinley a shot. But Leroy was he's been on our show before, Leroy Duncan. Why not post up and punish little guards with Ant? Any thoughts on that, Chris?
So in the offseason, Ant was saying, I got something for you guys. I got something new, something secret, and they try to ask him what it was. And he's like, oh, I'm not telling you. And that's exactly what I was hoping it was. I was hoping that he was, he's a big body Benz. Like I was hoping he'd be able to take some guys down there and put in some work. Because he did it a couple times his rookie year, I remember. And it was successful. I just don't think he has it in his bag. I don't think he knows how to handle it. Like if a double comes, I think he'll just, falter. So I think it's something he needs to add. I mean, being as thick as he is, that's exactly what he should be doing.
Mm-hmm. And here's the follow-up question. Do you think, I mean, obviously the kid's super talented, but do you think it's something he can add?
For sure.
You think he can? Okay.
For sure. I mean, because I'm not asking him to dream shake people. I'm just asking him to just bully ball someone down like Chauncey Billups used to. And if you just got a little fadeaway off that or just like a right shoulder hook, like that's all you need. But I mean, you're going to be able to push some little guy like Cole, what's that little cat? Cole Anthony?
Cole Anthony, yeah.
Like that dude you can push right down in there.
I think this is almost kind of like a game flow question. I just talked about how Ant has kind of struggled shooting the ball. If he doesn't get, his first, if he's, 1 for 5 to start the all jump shots, let's get out and let's ISO the ball down low to him and let him get closer and get some confidence going. Like he's a big dude, and he's super athletic. I don't mind that at all, but I feel like it's kind of a game flow thing. Like, when Ant's in a game and he's yelling at the other coach to call a timeout because he's on fire, I don't want him down low. I want him roasting everyone from on the perimeter.
And I want to see Cat get the ball lower too. Like, I don't know. I feel like he gets the ball on the perimeter way too much. And like, it's just, he gets the ball like, close to the perimeter, then he has to take like 3 or 4 power dribbles just to get into whatever move he's doing. Let's get him the ball down low and let him skip a couple steps and get the ball down low. And I think part of the issue is maybe play him alongside Nas, right? Because then you have someone down low, and then you can, I don't know, just be bigger inside. I don't know.
I think one of the biggest problems with that is Cat is like the ultimate king pick and pop shoot a 3 guy. Like he just loves the 3 ball so much. So I think that's kind of part of the issue. And then like even when he like picks and pops and like kind of does a couple fakes and decides, okay, I'm not going to go for the 3. A lot of times when he does that, like he'll go down and off the dribble, he seems to lose the ball a lot down low, like just dribbling it in, off his own leg or it gets knocked out by somebody. Like he's not an off. It's kind of hard to ask a guy to be an off the perimeter drive to the lane guy at 7 foot. I mean, it's not a real skill set that really exists in general.
Yeah, I don't think he's comfortable down there. Whenever I see him post up, it looks like it just doesn't look fluid. I think the best way to have him get the ball in the post would be on the move. Like hit him where he like you said, where he's coming through the lane and all of a sudden he stops, then the ball comes. I don't like the 4 or 5 crab dribble. Let the guys collapse on him. Let him whip that underhand circus pass that never gets anywhere. Like, I don't need any of that. Like, keep shooting your 50% free throw or 3-pointers, or catch the ball in the block and just turn and get your hook up. Like, I don't want to see any post moves right now.
Right, and that's what I was alluding to. Like like you said, it's 3 or 4 power dribbles. Defense comes, and then he does that or whatever. He does. I've seen him on occasion, the behind the head passes that seem to work
Everyone has, and the defenders have too. Like that's not that clever either, Like
right.
But he had a beautiful pass from the 3-point line to Edwards for that dunk. I mean, that little pocket pass.
Yeah,
like his skill is so much more effective in space than down with the dirties, with the ugly people. Like he's like the opposite of Embiid. Like if those two are together, that'd be a monster. But Embiid, you want him down in that grit and not up top. And Cat is just the opposite.
Right.
I want to bring up one thing that's not on our outline. I just kind of want to hear your guys' opinion on it. Jared Vanderbilt has moved into the starting power forward position, and I know we talked about getting bigger, and I kind of like what he's bringing even in the starting lineup. The dude's getting some rebounds and playing with a lot of energy. I just want to get your guys' thoughts quick on what you think of Vando at the 4. Is it a long-term thing, or is it just we'll go with it for now because it's working?
And I'll go first on this. I think it's by necessity that he's playing the 4 because, I mean, who else is honestly going to play the 4 on this team right now? I mean, say what you will about like Juancho Hernan-Gomez. At least he was kind of tall and could maybe guard some of those bigger guys. But yeah, I do like what Jared's doing. I didn't like that he shot 2 threes last night.
There was one in that he shot in the corner, and as he released it, I said, "Oh my God, please never do that again."
Well, it's like, and that's a testament to the rest of the players being almost too unselfish because we're kicking to the corner to Jared Vanderbilt. Like, that's never a good. I even said in the arena, I said, if he makes this shot, we're not losing a game the rest of the year. Because if we have Jared Vanderbilt hitting threes, we're going to be just fine. But yeah, go ahead, Chris.
I mean, he's shooting 90% from the free throw line right now. Like, he's got a decent little stroke. He's probably not ready for 3-pointers, but if he wants to be an NBA starter, he needs to hit that shot. I don't think he's an NBA starter. So I would say I hope that it's a short-term thing, but unless some of our players start playing better, I'm assuming it's going to be a long-term thing because I don't think we're going to have value to get anything else.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about players that we let go. Anybody missing Rubio right now, particularly with 2 point guards out? Chris, go ahead. I mean, would you have not done the Prince trade in retrospect so far?
I wouldn't have done the Prince trade the day it happened, and I think I was pretty adamant about that.
You were.
It just doesn't make sense to me. And Prince hasn't looked very good. I mean, he hasn't looked completely atrocious, but he's pretty much pointless. I mean, he's playing 14 minutes a game. He's shooting 26%, 16% from three. I mean, yeah, okay. Meanwhile, Rubio's dropping he's going for 15 and 8 assists on probably, damn near NBA high assist to turnover ratio. And the Cavs are looking pretty damn good,
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's only started 2 games. So most of it's off the bench,
Yeah, right. Yeah, I don't know. I really would, truthfully, I would like to see him starting. I would like to see him starting and D'Lo be the bench guy. That was really nice last year because now you have a guy who can get the team in the offense. He can get the ball movement. What do you keep hearing these guys talk about? We're not moving the ball around enough. We're not getting everybody touching the ball so they feel like they're, involved. Cat is going whole fourth quarters without getting a jumper. He's not without getting a shot. He's not getting the ball. He's third on our team in shots, or was until D'Lo sat out a whole half. He needs to be getting more shots, but you can't just magically put the ball in a 7-footer's hands. You need a point guard to get it there, and that's not happening. So yeah, I would love to see Rubio back here, and I would give up a future first and give Prince back for it. Halfway in joke, but halfway serious too.
Jared, anything to add on that?
Your question is, do I miss Rubio? Absolutely. We're talking to Jordan McLaughlin at starting point guard. This might be a question for I'm not on next week. I'll be on vacation, but this is a next week question almost because I feel like this is going to get ugly for us coming up with J Max starting at the 1 is what I have it as. D'Lo's got an ankle sprain, so I think that's at least 2 games, if not more. Depending on how bad it is, I guess. But do I miss Rubio? Absolutely. I talked about Prince, and I like Prince's game, but even before I said I like his game, we talked all offseason, us 3 guys. We have a group chat, and we talk about everything that happens, basically. And all 3 of us, I remember a quote that I directly said was, that one kind of makes me scratch my head. That trade just didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. And it took me 2 or 3 days to kind of try and figure out what was going on with that deal. And it still never really made sense to me until we started the season this year. I said, okay, well, we're going to have a 3-4 position where we're going to need a guy to play 25 to 30 minutes. So I thought, maybe Prince can play a little bit of 3, a little bit of 4, and play 25, 30 minutes. Well, the guy's playing horrible, and he's playing 14 minutes a game. So that should tell you pretty much all you need to know about that deal.
Mm-hmm.
I only can assume that we canvassed the league. There was no interest how we wanted for Rubio because we did the trade in last year's NBA calendar year so that we could move Prince right away. So I think that Rosas wanted that flexibility, and he hoped and wished that we were going to be able to make a move quick before the season. So he needed a guy eligible. and it just didn't happen, which that happens. But man, Rubio, like player for player, we definitely lost on that one.
Yeah, I think so. And good for Cleveland. I mean, they need something good going for them. Oh, by the way, and we'll talk about this towards the end. I love Cleveland City jersey. I don't know if you guys have seen it yet, but I'm in love with their city. They bring back like the old Cavalier logo, and I've seen a lot of teams are redoing their court to correspond with their city jerseys.
I did see that. The Nets, I think tonight, have a pretty cool court. They got the old New Jersey net logo with the Brooklyn net for the ball or something. It looks all right.
So actually, let's get to it right now. I'm going to share my screen quick. Let's see. I just gotta open it up here. There we go. So let's see what you guys think of it. What do you guys think of the Wolves jersey? What do you think? So that's obviously Edwards and
Beasley.
And yeah,
I like it. I like the colors. I like that they went back to the original color scheme or pretty close to it. I haven't talked to you. I wish you could show the shorts. I will buy the shorts because I think those shorts are fire. Because the logo there, they cleaned up the kind of new logo, everything I didn't like about the new logo, and they pretty much put the new logo in the old logo spot, like
right on the side there. Yeah,
on the side, it looks really nice. I'm not a fan of that font. Like that font to me is like when you tried to draw cool letters in 6th grade, same as those numbers. You're like, oh, you made them with spikes. That's cool. Like
when you're making those 9-letter S's or whatever they were back in middle school.
Yeah, right. Like it's like that kind of thing where you're like, oh, that kid can draw cool. Like it looks really like childish and kind of stupid to me. But it's pretty clean. It's one of the best. I think it's the best. I think that's the best alternative jersey we've had, and I'm even including the Prince ones.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
I'm a big fan of these jerseys, and the only thing I don't like is exactly what Chris said is the font. Just the lettering looks kind of, like you said, kind of like blocky, and I don't know. I'm just not a huge fan of it. There's too much going on with the lettering. But I love that they called this the remix is what they called this jersey. And I was talking to my wife about him last night. I'm like, because I don't know if it was one of you guys or if it was Gary, but somebody dropped these unis, and I'm like, these are pretty clean, like they got the old school 90s look almost with the trees, and
well, that font is that old Timberwolves with when Garnett was good. It's that same font too, except it said Timberwolves and it was smaller.
Yeah, yeah, and but I love the it's like the old school coloring scheme mixed with the black tree jerseys that everybody loves. So I'm a big
generation loves. I do.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of these jerseys, but the lettering could have been a little better, I think.
I really like these. I think they're super clean. I like them a lot. Obviously, given my formative years, I'm a sucker for the trees. I mean, I am. That's just the way. I mean, that's just what I grew up with, and that's what I do wish though that they would bring back. I'll get it up here in a second. I wish just like once they would bring back the old jerseys though. The 1989 to 1996.
Yeah. I think they call it what do they call the dog in that one? They call it like the sheep. I don't know, shepherd. The English whatever. And a lot of it does go back to the era that you really fell in love with the Timberwolves. And I hated the jerseys with the trees. I hated them. I thought they looked terrible. But on this, I like the trees on these ones.
Yeah, so, I do too.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they're good. Let's go with them.
So here's a question for you guys: If you were to buy a jersey, let's say you're buying a modern Timberwolves jersey, so not like the old one, would you buy this? Like, if you had to buy one, is this the one you'd buy?
Yes. This would definitely be the one that I would buy. This is my favorite city jersey that we've ever had. I was actually a big fan of the light blue cream jerseys as well. I think that was maybe last year or the year before. I can't remember what they said on them. I think there's just MPLS on them. I like those a lot. Just because they were like a different style of blue that we don't normally wear. It was a little bit different. But yeah, these jerseys are pretty much top notch, in my opinion. I wasn't really a big fan of the Prince jerseys, and I know that's going to offend a lot of people in Minnesota because everybody loves Prince in Minnesota. I didn't really like the coloring scheme of that. I didn't like the black and pink, and to level with you, I'm not a huge Prince guy. It just wasn't my genre, but I'm going to offend some people when I say that because a lot of people really loved them.
I think we've been. Oh, by the way, bring this.
Not those short length, not the length of those shorts, maybe.
Oh no! Bring back the shorts too. Why not?
Oh gosh!
By the way, those
one wrong dribble, you might lose a McNugget on one of them guys. Holy hell!
I mean, bring back the Nuggets jerseys too. Those are sweet.
Those
too.
I liked.
Me and Chris could disagree about jerseys for about 25 minutes if we really wanted to. But I want to bring up a random question for you guys. And this is a league-wide question, which will make it kind of fun. Who is your favorite rookie right now? Because there's been some really good ones and there's been some really bad ones. And one that's been really bad is playing right now and is about 2 for 14 from the field, in case you haven't noticed.
I'll go first. I would say I haven't really been able to watch him much, but Scotty Barnes is doing stuff in Toronto. Like he really is, and I think that was a steal. Watching Suggs last night, I wasn't overly impressed. I don't know. He was okay. Hit a couple shots, made some slick moves. Actually had some nice passes, but Suggs, I don't know. Cade Cunningham, I mean, so far.
Yeah,
but,
he doesn't look good at all. He was the guy that I was referring to. I think he's like 2 for 14 from the field tonight. But he is coming. Yeah, he's coming off injury, and he was kind of playing a minutes limit. But the guy that I really like, and Scotty Barnes is a great answer because he looks like everything and more for Toronto. So I love that answer. But the guy that I'm really liking is Evan Mobley is looking good with Cleveland. He does a little bit of everything too. He gets some assists. He's like borderline double every game. It's almost like we talked about this guy all off season.
I mean, I don't even know. I've never even heard of the guy.
He's looked great. And not only that, but like he's adding a couple defensive stops, couple blocks, couple steals. Like he's just a solid player. So he'd probably be my answer. But if that wasn't going to be all of our answers, because this is quietly the Evan Mobley fanboy podcast, really. But the other guy that I really like, I'd be interested to hear kind of your guys' opinions because he plays on a horrible team. But that Josh Giddey guy is pretty damn good too, in my opinion.
I like him, and I like that guy from India, the Pacers guy. Like
I can't pronounce his name. I always call him Durante, and I know that's wrong.
That kid can play too.
So who here? Chris Durante. It's almost like Dante, but it's an R instead of an A. Yeah. By the way, so who's like this season in general? We'll do the fun questions because, I mean, it's tough to talk Wolves right now when we don't know what's going forward. We don't know who's going to be a point guard. This season? Who's your favorite? Some of your favorite teams to like? I don't know if you guys have League Pass or not, but like, who's your favorite teams other than the Wolves to like watch and stream?
This season, I haven't really got as much as other seasons going just because of various reasons. But
life,
life sometimes does things. The Bulls are fun. You know, I used to like watching a lot of Denver last year. I haven't got into them this year yet. I just kind of the Hornets, dude. You got to watch the Hornets. They're always entertaining with ball. Yeah, man. That's the cool thing about the NBA is at any time, any night, you're gonna have at least some really fun player to watch or a good team. Like anytime. I
Right.
mean, it's just I'm just a fan of this sport, man. It's a good league right now. It's real
Right.
healthy.
Right. It's like compare it to the NFL. Like if you're going against, let's say, the Detroit Lions this week, there's no reason to watch the Lions.
No.
But let's say you're going against what should be a bad Orlando Magic team. You got interested Jalen Suggs. You got Cole Anthony. You got
Can Mo Bamba do it? He's
Mo
been out there
Bamba.
for a while.
Yeah. What about you, Jared? Who do you like watching? And then we got a Twitter question we'll get to.
So I don't actually sit down and watch other teams really unless they play on the West Coast, just because my kids usually aren't in bed and it's kind of hard for me to watch a game. I watch the Wolves. I watch the Wolves on my laptop because I don't get control of the main TV until after they all go to bed. That's just how life is, like Chris said. But a team that I love to follow on my phone is actually two teams. And one team I don't even really like. I just find myself following their game charts and their game flows on my phone is the Toronto Raptors. And it's not even a team that I like. It's just a team that I think is interesting because Fred VanVleet has actually started off this season playing extremely poorly and they're still playing pretty good. So I think that's kind of interesting because they are doing all this without Siakam right now, which to me is kind of interesting because like you said, Scotty Barnes is that dude can play. I think he plays shooting guard, but he gets damn near 8.5 rebounds a game, which is
he's 6'9".
Yeah, the dude gets rebounds and he mucks it up down low pretty well for I don't know what his technical position is, but he might be listed as a power forward. I'm not sure. But
they have so many bigs. They're the opposite of us. They've got Precious and Takuna or whatever his name is. They brought him over. They've got Scotty Barnes. They've got Pascal Siakam. They've
Ken
got
Breach.
OG Anunoby plays some power forward. I think there's a very good possibility that Boucher might be wearing this colored jersey maybe soon.
Yeah, I mean we'd love to take one of those bigs off your hands. If you got too many, we'll take them.
That's a very good point too, because I think he only played 9 minutes yesterday, which
he only plays 8 to 10 minutes a game, and all he does is block shots and shoot threes. I'll take that.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's like 28, I think, and he's on an expiring contract for $7 million. So I mean, I think we could get him for chicken scratch. But yeah,
the interesting thing about last night's game is Scotty Barnes didn't play, and he still played 9 minutes. So if there's a guy that you could buy low on, he's probably.
Let's get to this interesting question from Chris again. Chris, thanks for watching. A strange question. Do you think the poor shooting percentage across the NBA with the Wilson ball is a concern for the league? Field goal percentage worse since 2004 and three-pointers worse since 1999. Any thoughts on the different ball?
I've heard some guys comment on it, and they've said, no, it doesn't make a difference. Those numbers are pretty staggering, and I mean – it doesn't seem like a complete coincidence. I mean, the field goal percentage is kind of twisted because there's so many more threes now. Those kind of go hand in hand. In 2004, they're, not shooting hardly any threes at all. But I would like to think it's not that big of a deal. I can't say that I'm an elite level basketball player where my, craft is honed to the point where the brand makes a difference, but I would be surprised if that's really causing much error, but I'm not the one to ask.
So I was always a Spalding guy. I love Spalding basketballs. I just love the game balls for Spalding were always extremely nice, extremely smooth. And I never thought I'd be commenting on a basketball in my life, but I always thought Wilson had like a little bit more like bounce to it. Like it was just like a little bit more live. Like if you're talking about like a firecracker, like it was just, like it was ready to just go up to your face. Is that because of the ball or is that because of the air? I don't know. I mean, I was just kind of a Spalding guy. I just thought it was always so much smoother. But I don't really think that has anything. I don't really think that has a whole lot of effect when you are talking about professional athletes that have been doing this since they were born, basically.
Right. I mean, half of them are probably used to playing with like a trash ball in the driveway anyway. So, I mean, at least growing up, like,
I don't know.
That's how I grew up playing. So.
Right. I don't know if we're going to get to it, but maybe that's Jayden McDaniels' problem in some of our bench players. Maybe they're just have never played with anything but, Spalding or something.
That's true. Yeah, possibly. We should get one of them on the show and ask them about that. Could you imagine the ratings boost we'd get?
I'll see what I can do.
Yeah. If you could have anyone on the show, it'd be Ant, probably, right?
Obviously.
Any Wolf. 100%.
He'd be 20 minutes of entertainment and he could talk to me about Popeyes. I mean, that's how Ant is.
Hey, Ant, you a good bowler? Yeah, I'm the best bowler. Ant, you a good swimmer? Yeah, I'm Michael Phelps. I mean, that's basically what the interview would be
I
like.
heard so he wanted to learn bowling this year, and I heard that he was bowling like a 270.
That's amazing.
Like by the end of the year, it's like, okay. I've known some people who've been like super, super, super high level athletes, like college football players that for fun went and ran track and made it to nationals kind of thing. And I played a lot of random sports with those guys and they were good at everything. Like you could make up a sport, only you knew the rules to, and they would beat you every single time just because some of those people they just have it, and Ant seems to be a guy who just has it.
Fun fact about bowling, because I used to be an avid bowler before I had kids and a busy lifestyle, but I used to have a 200 average in bowling. So that was kind of my master craft I always say everyone has a stupid sport that they're good at. Mine was bowling. But back to bowling, who's actually an extremely good bowler and has played in a lot of like charity tournaments that plays in the NBA? It's everyone's favorite point guard, Chris Paul. Very good bowler.
I was watching FS1 and they were showing his thing or whatever.
Seems kind of like a boring nerd kind of guy.
Yeah. Well, I wonder if, and I hope this isn't an outdated reference, if Cliff Paul is any good at bowling.
I don't think that's outdated. I bet you he's better than Chris.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so let's take a look at the schedule. Let's look forward. So tomorrow, obviously, if you're listening to this live, if it's later, well, you can put it together and figure out what the Wolves got coming up. But got the Clippers, and then we got the Clippers again on Friday. Then we got Monday against the Grizz on the road. Then if for some reason we don't do a podcast by then, I think we will, but in case something happens, we got the Warriors and then the Lakers, and we'll stop there. So, Chris, we'll start with you. What are you looking for out of the Wolves this week?
What I'm looking for one thing and one thing only, really. I'm looking for two things. I'll say two things. I'm looking to see if our defense stays real. Right now, we're ranked third in the NBA in defense, even after last game. And if I told you that we would be third in the NBA in defense this long into the season, not like it's long, but it's at least more than one game, I think everyone would be super happy about that. It kind of makes me not so worried about how we're playing right now, because being that good at defense, or even the possibility of being top 10 at defense, gives the upside for the Timberwolves. We're talking high level playoff, like win around kind of team, because I don't believe that our offense will continue to stink this bad. Mm-hmm. So to have even the possibility of this defense is huge. So I just want to keep that going, assuming the offense will come around. All right. The second thing I'm looking forward to is Jayden McDaniels. He I don't know if it was on this or something else. Somebody asked, what could you possibly be worried about or what are you scared of? And I said Jayden McDaniels before the season started because everyone was like, I wouldn't trade Jayden McDaniels for Ben Simmons straight up. This
Yeah.
guy's going to be a superstar. And I'm like, he's kind of not really done anything. We're just going on hope. And he has taken a big step back this year from what he did last year. Like he's not making the big splash defensive plays as much. And he's playing like 25, 26 minutes a game. And I'm going to read to you his lines for the year on how many points he's scored. 4, 4, 3, 3, 2, and 5. This is a guy who's starting and he's playing 25 minutes a game. And you're like, well, how is his percentages? I'd like to tell you his free throw percentage, but he hasn't got to the line yet. So that's not good. And I think he's shooting like 16% from 3 for the year or something.
Nice.
Like, I mean, it's just atrocious. So it's getting to the point where he can't start. But then it's like, well, you're going to put Prince in there? And he's doing just as bad. So he is the X factor for me in the season. He needs to be a 12-point scorer a game with 35 to 40% from 3 and six rebounds. Like, I'm not asking for the world. Just give me something.
And Jared, what you looking for this week?
Well, I'm going to piggyback off of what Chris just said here about Jayden. And I talked about it last week. This dude just sits in the corner all game long. Like, it's all I ever see him do. Like, his offensive talent is to try and hit corner threes, and he's not hitting them. So offensively, he's just bad. I will say the last game against the Magic, I saw him get a dribble handoff in the corner. And he went out up top, and I believe he even scored on the play. And he took the ball to the hole, and I was like, is this even the same guy? Like, I haven't seen this guy move in 4 games, you know?
He
so that was
on
good.
that play, too. But
Yeah.
he did score.
Yeah. So it was a play that just kind of stuck in my mind because I've been so frustrated with him as well, like many of us have been. But looking forward, I have some big doubts about how the Wolves are going to do this next week, which is not something that I normally say because I'm like the biggest homer ever, as Chris would say. But the Clippers are a team that always plays us extremely tough, and we've never really had an answer for Paul George or Kawhi Leonard. Luckily, Kawhi's out, so I hope we can ring the bell with Paul George because we play them 3 out of our next, I think, 7 games. So if we can't figure out how to stop Paul George, that sounds like a lot of losses to me, which doesn't sound exactly fun. And then we get to see the Wolves go on a road trip. We got a 4-game road trip following the 2 home games versus the Clippers. So we're home and home versus the Clippers. And then we have basically a West Coast swing with the Grizzlies mixed in there as well. We're gonna find out what this team's about. I have my concerns at the point guard position. I really hope D'Lo is a lot healthier than I think he is because I think that's going to hurt us quite a bit and more than even we want to admit or realize. But I'd be happy to get out of this road trip and these next 2 games even at 2-4 because I think it's going to be ugly.
Yeah, and see, this is the importance of winning like Orlando games or Pelicans games. When you get injuries and go against good teams and you're injured, like you need those backup games to be able to in the win column. See, that's the importance of those games. So anyway, we're going to wrap it up there. Chris, thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, no problem, man.
And Jared, thanks as always.
Absolutely. I'll leave us with this note. God, I hope the ball starts going into basketball soon or we're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is the Everything's Coming Up Timberwolves podcast. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Spotify so you never miss an episode. And as always, go Wolves.